Almost exactly 8 years ago, Brendan Rodgers was sacked by Liverpool, with the Reds sat 10th in the Premier League table, creating this intimate moment between Jamie Carragher and Thierry Henry on live television, and replaced by Jurgen Klopp. Klopp had been out of work for less than 4 months since leaving Borussia Dortmund, where he performed miracles to win 2 Bundesliga titles and reach the final of the Champions League. Nonetheless, his final season at Dortmund was actually his worst, as the Prussians flirted with relegation for much of the campaign and ended up finishing 7th. Klopp had previously been linked with a top job at Arsenal, Man City, and Real Madrid, the last of whom chose to appoint Rafa Benitez that summer instead, but his final season at Dortmund was reported to have put some of his potential suitors off. Liverpool had no such hesitations, and it proved to be an absolute masterstroke. In his debut campaign, Klopp could only lift Liverpool up to 8th place, which was the club's joint lowest top-flight league finish since the 1950s, but there was abundant cause for optimism. Liverpool almost immediately became exhilarating to watch under Klopp, blowing some teams away, and only failing to pick up more points than they did because they had a leakier defence than Southampton and West Brom. The Reds also made it to the final of the Europa League in Klopp's debut season, which they may well have won if it wasn't for left-back Alberto Moreno, deciding that night that he was still playing for his former club. Since then, Klopp has pulled as many rabbits out of the hat at Anfield as he did at Dortmund and Mainz. During Klopp's time at the helm, Liverpool have had a lower net spend than Newcastle and West Ham, as well as Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, Manchester United and Chelsea of course, yet only Man City have bettered their record during that time. Indeed, if it wasn't for the sheer relentlessness of Guardiola's Emirati operation, this Liverpool team would have gone down as one of English football's greatest of all time, as is illustrated by their points tallies of 97 and 92, which failed to yield a Premier League title, sandwiched either side of the season in which they won 99 points and did finally get their hands on a first top-flight league title of the Premier League era. Anyway, that is just a very long-winded way of saying that Klopp has done quite well at Liverpool, but after years of watching the likes of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk gliding around the pitch at Anfield, it is all too easy to forget the squad of players that Klopp inherited. The matchday squad from Klopp's first game in charge, a 0-0 draw against Tottenham at White Hart Lane, included someone who now plays in the 8th tier, yes, the 8th tier of Slovakian football, 2 players who are already long-term free agents still in their 20s, and one of whom now runs a fried chicken restaurant. Nope, I'm not joking. Without further ado then, who never played for Liverpool, here is Jurgen Klopp's first starting 11 at Liverpool. Where are they now? Seon Min, Club Brugge. The longest serving of Liverpool's streak of somewhat dubious goalkeeping options, in between the much safer hands of Pepe Reina and Alisson Becker, Seon Min racked up over 200 appearances during 6 seasons at Anfield. That is more games than Ray Houghton, Fernando Torres, and Javier Mascherano managed at Liverpool, and though Mignolet's legacy may be dwarfed by those 3, I don't think that he was actually as bad as a lot of people made out. And I certainly don't think that he was worse than Loris Karius, who began to take his place in the 2017-18 season. In the summer of 2018 though, Liverpool signed Alisson for what was, very briefly, a world record fee for a keeper, rendering Mignolet surplus to requirements. Following a season in which he didn't play a single minute of league football, Mignolet joined Club Brugge in 2019 for a reported £6.4 million, where he also just eclipsed 200 appearances, now aged 35. Nathaniel Klein, Crystal Palace. One of Liverpool's most nailed-on starters back in 2015, when Jurgen Klopp arrived at Anfield, right-back was a position that Nathaniel Klein seemed to have on lockdown, and perhaps the only position in their defence where a replacement wasn't required. In the 2015-16 season, Klein made 52 appearances, and he played in all but one of Liverpool's 38 Premier League games in the season after that. Perhaps it would have stayed like that long term were it not for a horrible back injury that Klein suffered in the summer of 2017, ruling him out for over 8 months. In Klein's absence, Liverpool Academy graduate Trent Alexander-Arnold began to make a name for himself at right back, and in the summer of 2019, Klein was ruled out for another year after rupturing his ACL. A route back into the Liverpool first team following that second successive setback, and given Alexander-Arnold's importance in Klopp's system, was impossible. And after his contract expired at Anfield, Klein rejoined his boyhood club Crystal Palace. Now aged 32, Klein is currently vying with fellow right-back Joel Ward for a starting berth at Selhurst Park. Martin Škrtel, FK Haškala Rastočna. Yes, that is how you pronounce it. Probably. And yes, I would like to register a formal apology to the people of Slovakia if it isn't. I tried my best, which is all that anyone could ask for, and the same can be said of Martin Škrtel during his 8 years at Anfield. A no-nonsense centre-back brought to Liverpool by Benitez after winning the Russian Premier League title with Zenit St. Petersburg, Škrtel formed one half of a very big centre-back pairing alongside Daniel Agger for the next 6 years. Rock solid 90% of the time and a terrific athlete, Škrtel did have the occasional rash moments and lapse of judgment in him, but he still racked up a massive 320 appearances for the club. Following stints at Fenerbahce, Atalanta, Istanbul Başakşehir and Spartak Trnava, Škrtel was forced to retire in 2022 due to a chronic back injury. After a lengthy rehab process, he came out of retirement to fulfill a promise of playing for his boyhood club, Haškala Rastočna, in the 8th tier of Slovakian football. At 38, Škrtel is still one of the team's younger players. Haškala's goalkeeper, for instance, is 56 years old. After over 20 years playing as a centre-back, Škrtel now plays in a free role, which he likens, and I'm not kidding, these are his words, in terms of the positions that he drifts into, to Lionel Messi. He takes set pieces, and despite skipping training because of his persistent back problems, he's even bagged himself a hatful of goals. Mamadou Sakho, Montpellier. Speaking of centre-backs with a mistake in them, that is a very harsh way in which to introduce Mamadou Sakho, but I would argue not an unfair one. Signed by Liverpool for £18 million in 2013, which was still a hefty fee for a centre-back at the time, Sakho had made over 200 appearances in a star-studded PSG team, and he was still only 23 years old. Make no mistake, Sakho had bags of ability, illustrated by some of his outstanding performances for France, but his awkward style was never the easiest on the eye, and drama seems to have followed him throughout his entire career. At Liverpool, Sakho was sent home from a pre-season tour of the United States for breaking club rules. He was suspended for taking a banned substance, though the charges against him were later dismissed, and he went on a 3 a.m. rant about Jurgen Klopp on Snapchat, following comments that Klopp had made about his fitness. In 2017, Sakho joined Crystal Palace, where he also fell out of favour following a promising start, and the 33-year-old is now back in Ligue 1 with Montpellier. Alberto Moreno, Villarreal. Slagged off by me, very cruelly again, I don't know what's up with me today, in the introduction, though he was terrible in that Europa League final, I don't take that back, Alberto Moreno is just one of those players who, though not lacking in talent, was replaced by someone much better at Liverpool, by Jurgen Klopp. In Moreno's case, that someone was Andy Robertson, signed from Hull City in the summer of 2017, who proved to be the perfect counterbalance on the left flank to Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right. Moreno remained a bit-part player at Liverpool up until the summer of 2019, when his contract expired, and he signed for Villarreal. 4 years on, at age 31, Moreno is still at Villarreal, where he won the Europa League in 2021 after beating Manchester United on penalties. Lucas Leiva, retired. It takes a lot to be considered a Liverpool legend, but it feels as though Lucas Leiva should at least be in that conversation. He was unfortunate to spend a decade at the club, which was sandwiched between the famous 2005 Champions League win, having arrived in 2007, and Jurgen Klopp's first trophy, which was the 2019 Champions League, having departed in 2017. Unlike a lot of his fellow countrymen, Lucas was never the flashiest of footballers during an unremarkable era for the club. Yet his heart and clear affection for Liverpool made him an immensely popular figure among supporters, as well as saying unlucky in a funny way in some videos.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Unlucky. 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 Unlucky.
Following 5 years at Lazio, Lucas rejoined Gremio in 2022, but he was forced to retire earlier this year due to heart problems. Emre Can, Borussia Dortmund. A regular at Anfield for 3 seasons under Jurgen Klopp, and for 1 season before that, Emre Can joined Liverpool in the summer of 2014 for €12 million from Bayer Leverkusen on a 4-year deal, and that is exactly how long he stayed. Free agents have an awful lot of leverage in contract negotiations, and Can was reported to have secured a mega package at Juventus in 2018. Meanwhile, Liverpool went out and replaced him with Naby Keita and Fabinho. Can spent just 18 fairly underwhelming months at Juve, where he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and underwent surgery. But Juventus still pocketed €25 million when they sold Can to Borussia Dortmund. Aged 29, Can has now made more than 100 appearances at the Westfalenstadion, but he recently lost his place in the team's starting 11 and was left out of Julian Nagelsmann's first Germany squad. James Milner, Brighton and Hove Albion. The ultimate utility man, though he was and still is far more than that, James Milner will turn 38 this season, yet he is still going strong in the Premier League. And if he sticks around for another season after this one, he will overtake Ryan Giggs and Gareth Barry as the player with the most top-flight league appearances during the Premier League era. In fact, he may well overtake Giggs this season alone. Milner joined Liverpool on a free transfer after he was deemed surplus to requirements at Man City in 2015, and it proved to be one of the bargains of the 2010s. Milner's attitude, intelligence, work rate and versatility make him a manager's dream, and Jurgen Klopp was no exception. Over the next 8 years, Milner made more than 300 appearances at Anfield, playing key roles in the Reds' Premier League and Champions League winning campaigns. He departed in the summer just gone, joining Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton and Hove Albion on a 1-year deal, with an optional 1-year extension. Adam Lallana, Brighton and Hove Albion. James Milner is in good company when it comes to former Liverpool players at Brighton, where Adam Lallana has been playing his football since 2020. A wonderfully gifted footballer who played a key role in Southampton's rise from League One to the top half of the Premier League table, Lallana joined Liverpool along with fellow Southampton players Dejan Lovren and Ricky Lambert in 2014, the season before Klopp arrived, during a time in which it felt like 50% of Liverpool's recruitment was just Southampton players. Still, you need someone to talk to the water, complement it, and make sure it's nicely crystallised. Sadly, Lallana's 6 years at Anfield were blighted by persistent injuries, limiting him to just 178 appearances during that time. Nonetheless, Lallana was outstanding in the 2015-16 and particularly the 2016-17 seasons, and absolutely key to Liverpool's transition to playing the way in which Klopp wanted them to. The last-minute winner in a 5-4 win away at Norwich was the most memorable, but Lallana was actually at the heart of some of the biggest moments of Klopp's early days at Liverpool, and without injuries, I suspect that he would have been a big part of his plans long-term. Now aged 35, Lallana has had slightly better luck at Brighton, where he has played 79 games in total. Philippe Coutinho, Al Duhail. It is hard to think of too many players who have fallen off as hard as Philippe Coutinho has over the last 5 or 6 years. Once touted as a wonder kid, Liverpool were able to sign Coutinho for just £8.5 million in January 2013 after Inter Milan concluded that the Brazilian hadn't quite developed as hoped. It proved to be a stunning bargain. Coutinho was already one of the Premier League's best number 10s when Klopp arrived, but under the German, he became a force of nature. When Liverpool qualified for the Champions League for the first time under Klopp in the 2016-17 season, Coutinho was without a doubt their best and most important player. He scored 14 goals and made 9 assists that season, but his influence extended far beyond numbers alone. In the first half of the 2017-18 season, though, Coutinho made 20 goal contributions in just 20 games. But Liverpool were powerless that January to prevent him from moving to Barcelona. Once again though, unlike with the sale of Luis Suarez a few years earlier, it proved to be a masterstroke by the Reds. Coutinho's potential £142 million transfer fee is still the third largest in the entire history of the sport, and Liverpool used it to fund the arrivals of Virgil van Dijk and Alisson. In Coutinho's absence, Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane became Liverpool's star men, and the Reds looked a better team in a 4-3-3 with three runners in midfield. Coutinho, meanwhile, following a bright first half season, was a total flop at Barcelona. By 2022, he had joined Aston Villa in a deal worth £17 million, and after falling out of favour at Villa Park as well, Coutinho, who is still only 31 years old, recently joined Al Duhail of the Qatar Stars League. It is a pretty stunning demise, but the signing and sale of Coutinho proved to be crucial in Liverpool's rise over the last 10 years. Divock Origi, Nottingham Forest. It would definitely be a stretch to call Divock Origi a Liverpool legend, but cult hero certainly fits the bill. Signed from Lille a few months before Klopp arrived, Origi was very rarely a starter at Anfield, but he made some incredibly telling contributions off the bench. Among them was his goal which killed off Tottenham in the 2019 Champions League final, his injury time winner against Everton in what was his first Premier League appearance in 18 months following a loan spell at Wolfsburg, and of course, most famously of all, his goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold's quick take and corner, which completed the most remarkable of comebacks for Liverpool against Barcelona. In June 2022, Origi's contract at Liverpool expired and he joined AC Milan on a 4-year deal. After only managing 2 goals in 36 games at the San Siro last season, Milan let Origi return to the Premier League on loan with Nottingham Forest this season, where he has so far played just 58 minutes of football over 4 appearances and is yet to hit the back of the net. That is it for Liverpool's first starting 11 under Jurgen Klopp, but there is still time for a quick look at the substitutes, which contain some rather more obscure names and blasts from the past. Hungarian goalkeeper Adam Bogdan, who made just 6 appearances in 4 years at Anfield, was Seon Min's deputy, and the 36-year-old is now a free agent after his contract with Ferencváros expired at the end of last season. Brendan Rodgers' old pal Kolo Touré was already nearing the end of his career by that stage and left Liverpool at the end of that season to join Rodgers once again at Celtic before retiring in 2017 to take up a coaching position at the club. He is currently out of work, his only role in first team management having been a brief and ill-fated stint at Wigan Athletic. Liverpool Academy graduate Conor Randall made Jurgen Klopp's first ever Liverpool bench, and he went on to play 7 games that season, before joining Hearts on loan. Released by Liverpool in 2019, Randall made the somewhat unorthodox move to Bulgaria, where he joined FC Arda Karjali, but he returned to Britain in 2020 and has been Ross County's right back ever since. João Carlos Teixeira was a man who many had high hopes for at Liverpool, but he only ended up making 2 Premier League appearances for the club. Following stints with Porto, Braga, Vitória Guimarães, Feyenoord, Famalicão and Qatari outfit Salal, Teixeira now plays for Shanghai Shenhua in the Chinese Super League. And, if you can believe it, he is now 30 years old. Joe Allen was Jurgen Klopp's first ever substitute introduced from the bench, in place of Adam Lallana, who was probably injured, but he was sold at the end of that season as Liverpool received a £13 million bid from Stoke City and replaced him with Jorginho Wijnaldum. Stoke were relegated in Allen's second season in Staffordshire, and he has been playing in the Championship ever since, firstly for the Potters, and now for his boyhood club Swansea City. Jordan Ibe was once touted as Liverpool's next big star and as a replacement for Raheem Sterling, but by the time Jurgen Klopp was appointed, his career had already begun to stall. The following summer, Bournemouth signed Ibe for a club record-breaking £15 million fee, where he only managed 5 goals and 9 assists in 92 appearances, before being released. Ibe has since had extremely brief stints at Derby and Adanaspor, where he made a combined total of 1 appearance, and over the summer, he trained with non-league Chesterfield. Aged 27, Ibe has now been without a club for over 18 months, and he has played just 1 game of professional football in the last 4 years. Last but not least, by any means, is Liverpool's youngest ever player, Jerome Sinclair. Another 2016 departee for a £4 million compensation fee to Watford. Sinclair only ever made 9 appearances for the Hornets, and also now, aged 27, Sinclair has been without a club since being released by Watford over 2 years ago, and he now owns a fried chicken shop in Birmingham. Well, on that note, and what a way to end, that is it for today's video. It would be fair to say that Liverpool have been on a journey under Jurgen Klopp. Thank you all very much, as ever, for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video. I hope that was the case. Bit of a throwback. Don't do that many wear in the now videos these days, but like I say, hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and of course make sure that you're subscribed, it goes without saying, and have notifications turned on for both this channel, HITC Sevens, and also my second channel, Alfie Potsama, both of which should be on or about to appear on your screens now, along with a couple of videos that you might fancy watching after this one. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads via the username @HITC Sevens on all three, and all of those links and everything else that might be relevant should be down in the video description below. Cheers.